Okay, thank you very much. And it's a real privilege to be here. So the work that I've been doing for the last 15 years at University of Washington has really been looking at the problem of digital transformation and looking at developing countries. So my background, I've been a professor of computer science at University of Washington since 1986. University of Washington is in the state of Washington in the northwest corner of the United States, not to be confused with the other Washington on the East Coast. My work generally has had an international focus that I've been really privileged to be able to do the work at University of Washington in the Paul Allen School of Computer Science, where the department has been flexible enough to let me specialize in these non-traditional areas, focusing on global impact. So what we've done at University of Washington is to build a research group, Information Computing Technologies for Development. And in this lab, we've had many generations of students go through. We've had very successful graduates who've gone on to be faculty at other universities that we've developed partnerships. We've had some very significant high-impact projects which we've been able to transfer from the university to outside entities. So to describe this work, I decided that I would present 3 research stories. And so this is going to be taking the types of projects that we've done, tell a little bit of the story of them. And for this conference, I really want to emphasize the particular digital transformations that we're studying and kind of the key takeaway on digital transformation. So the first one, we'll be talking about data collection on mobile devices, and the digital transformation is large-scale digital transformation of work. Second is going to be community cellular, which is looking at changing the cost equations for telecommunication infrastructure, and this is digital transformation at the periphery. And finally, talking about work on digital financial services, and this is looking at the transformations of technological and financial inclusion. So the data collection work was started by my colleague Gaetano Borriello, and this is work that he started in about 2005, 2007, when PDAs and smartphones were just on the horizon. And the real brilliancy in his work is that in 2008, he was able to envision a smartphone as a global platform. And people laughed at him for the idea of taking smartphones and having them deployed in developing countries. And the real brilliance was being able to look 10 years ahead in technology. And that's one of the really important things that a university research program can do. So for data collection, they developed a data collection platform called Open Data Kit. Open Data Kit is an Android phone-based data collection where you create forms, data is collected, stored in a central server. That ODK development has gone on for a decade. There's been an important transition of starting as a university project, many iterations of the software, initially funded with grant support at the university, eventually moved to an external open source project. So that for a project of this length, there's an important mechanism of transferring it externally. As a university project, it also maintained a core set of other data collection projects building on the Android platform. ODK sensors, looking at tying different types of sensors into a Android phone, ODK scan, using vision to interpret forms, ODK diagnostics tying into various RDT diagnostics. So this was also a platform for research and multiple PhD students that I've taken over the project now. We've looked at the next phase of Open Data Kit, moving to a data management platform as opposed to a data collection platform. Data management means more complex applications, two-way transfer of information, and we've worked with things like Red Cross in developing an application for managing disaster aid. One of the large-scale projects coming out of this work is assessing the global immunization cold chain. So vaccines have to get from the national vaccine store all the way to the people they're being delivered to. Vaccines need to be kept cold. Countries will generally have a hierarchy of vaccine storage facilities. And remarkably, in many, many countries, the status of the vaccine cold chain is virtually unknown. And so we've launched a project with support from the World Health Organization to develop ODK to use as a data collection app for understanding the country's vaccine cold chain. Currently, we're working in 5 countries: Pakistan, Bangladesh, Haiti, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Uganda. And the thing I find so exciting about this opportunity is that it is an opportunity to deploy technology that is going to transform a work practice. A second area of work, and this is done by another colleague of mine, is expanding the access of mobile communication. And so here I've got a map of my state of Washington on the far end, a map of Kyrgyzstan, and both of these are standard maps showing cell phone coverage. So some areas, like where we are right now, have good coverage. There's lots of white areas with no cell phone coverage. And basically what governs cell phone coverage is the fact that cell towers are very expensive. That roughly, let's say $175,000 to build a cell tower, and telcos are going to build cell towers where there's enough business to make it viable. And so the question is, how do you get cell service to places like these? And so the work that Curtis does is community cellular. That I said the expensive part of cellular communication is the tower. The radios on the towers are actually relatively cheap. That, $2,000, $5,000, you can build the radio for a cell tower. And so their approach has been to develop low-cost cell phone radios and then deploy them locally without towers in a local setting. So here's a picture from Indonesia where the cell tower is a tree and the radio is put up in the tree, and a community organization manages the installation. And components are things like radios, SIM cards, phones. A lot of Curtis's research is looking at the local economic model and sustainability that allows localized deployment of small-scale cellular, which is out of the reach of the main telcos. So places that it's not going to be competing with a telco. And so their work is currently looking at deployments of 4G with LTE in cellular deployments. Lots of interesting work going on about the types of services, digital services that can be offered locally. And the key thing I want to emphasize here is that this is really interesting when you change the costs of infrastructure. You can explore different types of things. The final area I want to talk about is work that we're doing in digital and mobile financial services. So as we all know, digital financial services are transforming many, many countries. That some countries, such as Kenya, there have been incredible successes with M-Pesa. Other countries, things have moved much more slowly. That we were able to get a project from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to study the technological barriers to the adoption of mobile money. So looking at things like security, infrastructure, and usability. One of the things that we were able to do in this project, and I'm very, very proud of, and is the type of model that I really want to promote at this conference, is that we were able to set up a partnership with Information Technology University in Lahore, Pakistan. And this essentially set up a parallel research institute to the one that we founded, that we were encouraged by our donor, Bill and Melinda Gates, that the program officer was very, very happy to have a group interested in working in Pakistan, one of their priority countries, that the ITU FinTech Center took on a group of projects led by faculty at ITU that were parallel to ours and in collaboration with us. So types of things that came up in our work studying mobile money. First, mobile money, obviously security and privacy are central to getting right in mobile money. We did quite a bit of work looking at the security of Android apps for mobile money. And the key thing that came out of a number of security audits for mobile money tools is there's a remarkable number of flaws in the mobile apps that are deployed. That it's easy to find hundreds of mobile apps and then apply a set of tools and methodologies that identify various vulnerabilities. And there's a shockingly large number of vulnerabilities in these tools. We conducted quite a few interviews with software developers to understand the source of these vulnerabilities, why they happen, that it's a very interesting process around the creation of the software that leads to the weakness. That our main recommendation coming out of that work is that it's really important to have validation tools for the program managers who are issuing the financial apps. That having a way of establishing an app as good is really the missing piece. Another area that we worked on, which was kind of fun, was to collect as many fraudulent spam SMS messages from different countries and then look at the different types of mobile money fraud that's perpetuated in different countries. That in Pakistan, we have a very, very good understanding of the type of frauds conducted in Pakistan, and also we're able to come up with what we believe is a fairly good mitigation plan for addressing the frauds. That we looked at the core technologies around mobile money, such as USSD, and studied various ways of building third-party USSD applications. Quite a bit of our work also tied into financial inclusion. And for one of the strongest findings coming from one of my students who worked on the area is the argument that at least in Pakistan, technological inclusion needs to precede financial inclusion, meaning that overcoming the barriers for people being fluid with technology and access to technology is a critical part. And when that's taken care of, then when there's need, the financial instruments are adopted. So it's a broader technological inclusion problem. So I just wanted to give these three areas that we've been working on and summaries of the projects that I really enjoyed preparing this talk, and the multiple iterations that was done based on some feedback delivered. In particular, thinking about where these projects could be taken for collaboration opportunities, and both in the specific as well as in models for collaboration. That first, the types of projects that we've been implementing obviously could be expanded and implemented in Central Asia in different guises. That the community cellular seems particularly attractive since there's clearly big white areas on the cell phone coverage maps. That at University of Washington, that there is a lot of university level work and partnerships, including a recent MOU signed with AKDN. And I see the high level work is a very, very important enabler and has tremendous value, but it has to also be combined with bottom up work that provides the project. So, and the actual things to implement. So I'm excited seeing structure coming into place, and the matching part will be identifying champions and particular projects and areas to work on. That, as I said, I'm very proud of the type of thing that we did with ITU as a model for international collaboration, and being able to set up a pair of peer research institutes that were able to collaborate, and this required appropriate levels of high-level support, external partnership, and strategically aligned topics. So thank you very much.